Hello, welcome to the last session on this painting here. Yeah, I'm still super happy with this painting. I think it's looking really good. Just a few more things to complete and it will be done. Oh, I need to adjust this camera. That's the polarizing filter on this camera. It darkens up the iPad, but it gets rid of some glare on the painting so you can see it better. So what does this painting need? At the beginning of each session when I work on a painting, I always ask that question, what does this need? What can I get away with? Honestly, I could finish the painting right now. I think it's at a stage right now where I could say, okay, this is done. I don't need to do more on it, but I'm still going to do more on it because I'm looking at it. Actually, I spent, about 5 minutes sitting here before I started recording, and I identified the spots where I felt like it would be advantageous for the composition, for the focal point to make changes. Just a few places, very minimal places, honestly, down here. This sleeve, lots of hard edges. I want to kind of calm those edges down a bit, soften them up. What that'll do is really push more interest to the top. Hard edges attract attention. We don't want that down at the bottom. The interest should be up here. Also on this side sleeve, it's a bit too bright. I'm going to bring its value down, soften up some edges as well. Even if it's different from the photo, I don't care about that. I think it's going to be more important to soften things than it is to add more detail or go as close to the photo as I can. This small section here looks nothing like the photo. I don't really care about that. But it does need to darken up as well. It's a little confusing, honestly, that spot. Not sure what's happening there. I can't feel the body underneath of it or what's happening to the body underneath of it. And I want to feel that. I want that to be evident. I'm super happy with how this part of the dress looks. It feels like that part goes underwater. And I love that. I love that transition, being able to actually explain that well, or at least I feel like it's explained well in the painting. Yeah, and it's probably just that. Just those things. I don't have to say much more than that. Let's get to painting. Okay. There we are. Finished painting. Rusalka. Fantastic. Super happy with this one. One thing that I want to talk about on this is, daily painting, which I do paint every day. And when most of my paintings go through a multiple day session, and with the substrate that I'm using, which is paper. It's an oil paper that's gessoed with like a gray and black gesso that is watered down a lot so that the paper texture comes through and it soaks up a lot of the paint. So you add that along with letting it dry for a day, and you'll come back to a session like this one today where everything is pretty much set. I mean, the paint doesn't want to move around too much. Up here, darker colors, completely dry. Down here, move around just a little bit, but pretty much the paper soaked in most of it, and it's set really well. Like if I really pressed a brush deep, like really hard into it, I could probably move some of that paint around. But for the most part, it's set. And for sessions like that, when the paint is in this kind of state, I like moving towards more of a dry brush type of painting method. A dry brush kind of method for oil painting, which, I mean, it's kind of a weird way of saying things. I mean, your brush is never dry. You'll always have paint on it, which is wet. You'll have wet paint on it, but it's much drier, in quote, than if you picked up a big chunk of paint and you mixed up a big pile that has a lot of impasto to it, very thick paint. So this mixture that I'm making up, you can see the ridges in it, very wet, very, very wet. Lots of paint, lots of paint. Dry brush, you deal with a lot less paint. Right here in these sections where I was mixing up a lot of this paint, it's super thin paint. And what you can do is just have a little bit of paint on your brush, and when I'm actually touching the canvas, I'm barely putting anything down. Just like on the glass palette here, you can see how see-through that is. What's nice about that is you're dealing with paint that has a lot of adherence to it because it's still a bit sticky, and you're not dealing with any kind of medium that would run into kind of like a fat over lean issue, but you are doing somewhat of a glaze. They call it more of a scumble than anything. Dry brush, scumble, it's pretty much similar. But the main reason why I do that is because I want very small adjustments. And it doesn't take a lot of paint to do that. So a dry brush on here, you can really get in there lightly and make small adjustments to value, to temperature, to color, to saturation, and make very small changes throughout. And you work slowly, simply, and just kind of feather in a bunch of changes. You can kind of see there, it's just very light, very, very light. What's nice about that is you also show through a lot of what's under the paint as well, what is already down there. I don't like doing that for the entirety of the painting. This is kind of like a finishing way of doing things. It's almost opposite of kind of a Baroque technique where you work from your dark to your light, and at the very end, the lightest lights you just chunk on really thickly. Big, huge chunk of white. Look at Rembrandt's paintings. Rembrandt does that. Or at the end, these lighter colors are what go down really thickly. I did it here with the highlight, the sunlight that's hitting the top of this figure's head. I wanted that thick. I wanted it very saturated. So I'm pulling directly from cadmium red and I'm putting it down there really, really thick. So that's important in that aspect. For certain areas like this, I don't know if you can see on the image, but right here, the collarbone for this figure is a lot lighter than what I have it. And I was contemplating doing this, and I don't know if I really should, but we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. If I go in with like a thicker paint, it's going to not be transparent. It needs to be more warm. It's not going to be as transparent. And it's going to be very different than what's around it. See how that lightens that collarbone up tremendously? Now, if I wanted to scumble this or dry brush it, I'm going to use the paint that's already on there. I use my paper towel to remove most of the paint off of my brush here. So it's has no paint on the brush, and I can move around the paint that's already on the canvas that I put on and draw with it, change the edges. That's another thing that's really helpful with a dry brush. If you want very soft edges, it's just little small touches. Even your finger can go in there and soften things out a little bit differently. It's another way of applying paint. Yeah, but one that you want to use in very specific situations. If I want to lighten up this area right here just a bit, I didn't even put any paint on my brush. I know that it's a lighter color, and I'm just kind of lightly touching the paper with it. Just very softly lighting that up. It's great for very subtle moves. Very subtle moves. Okay, that's all I have to add today for this session. Super happy with this painting. I will be showing the finished photos right now on the screen once I edit this video, so you can see this in all of its glory. As I say that because I'm really happy with it, but everyone else, other individuals may look at this painting and not like it at all, and that's totally fine. That's fine. Now that I lightened up the other collarbone, the collarbone on the left side, I want to do this highlight here to balance it out a bit. Very soft, very subtle. Nice. I am so happy with this painting. Super happy with it. Thank you so much for watching my videos. If you want to see more of my artwork or purchase my artwork, you could do that too. Go to my website, chrisbevan.com. Link in the description below. Thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.